Hey everyone, this is Riddle Hakaraja Raven. I'm here with my recap and review of Snowpiercer season number 2, episode number 2, which is titled Smolder to Life or Smolder for Life. Yeah, to life. And this episode, I enjoyed it. It was so amazing. It was better than the premiere episode. And there was this moment in this episode that made me yell when I was watching this. I'll get to it soon, but I guess you can. Yeah, I think you already know what scene I'm talking about, but it made me yell. I was so happy. So happy. So this episode opens with Melanie. She's sleeping in her cell, and we get a voiceover from Melanie, and she remembers how her father used to burn fire to keep the cold away, and then he was like, you have to continue burning the fire, or else some sort of coldness inside the person will come out. It's very meta, whatever she's trying to say. I didn't necessarily understand it. And as we're getting a narration from her, we get this weird scene where she ends up looking at this little girl who's taking out the entrails of a little rabbit, and I think that's supposed to be little Melanie, or maybe she had a sister that died. Who knows? So Alex comes in, and Alex is of course like, "Yo, you can see me in the screen. Okay." But yeah, Alex is like, Mom, we ended up testing the sample, and there is ammonium sulfate in there. So what is the sample about? And Melanie is like, you know what, Alex, when I was outside, it was snowing. And Alex is like, wait, that's not possible. And Melanie is like, you know what, it is possible. And of course, Melanie asks her more questions. Alex is asking Melanie more questions, but Melanie is keeping everything close to herself. And this is where Alex is like, you know what, Wilford told me that there are two types of people in this world. There are thinkers, and then there are schemers. You're a schemer, and because you're keeping information away from me, I don't trust you. Of course, Melanie has to keep stuff away from her daughter because her daughter is very, very close to Wilford, and whatever Melanie is going to tell her, she's probably going to share with Wilford. So it's better for her to be cautious. So we get to Layton and Zara, and of course Zara is loving her new life in second class in this new room, and she's trying to create a new life with Layton. She's trying to go back to when these two loved each other very much. And it's morning, it's time for Layton to go to work, and Zara is like, oh, I'm proud of you, Layton. And Layton is like, you know what, Zara, don't make it weird. So Layton ends up talking to Bess, and Bess tells Layton that a daily woman was attacked last night. And Layton is like, who was it? Bess is like, we don't know. And Layton is like, you know what, Bess, I'm busy. So I want you to check what's happening with the dailies. We can't have a revolution happening, especially with Wilford coming back. I have to focus on Wilford. So it's your job to keep whatever revolution or civil war that might erupt. I want you to handle it. And Bess is like, how the heck am I supposed to handle it? I'm just a brakeman. And I'm not even a brakeman no more now that all of the hierarchy in which the Snowpiercer works in has been disrupted. And later they're like, you know what? Come here. So they go to Roche's office, and this is where Layton ends up promoting Bess into trained detective. And they're like, you know what, Bess? You're promoted. You're the trained detective. Handle the case and find out who ended up attacking that daily woman. So we get to see Layton and Grosh interrogate Kevin, the person they kidnapped in the previous episode. And of course, Kevin is like, you know what, you won't make me talk. I won't tell you anything about Mr. Wilford, and Mr. Wilford would come back for me because I'm hospitality. I'm the head of hospitality, and hospitality is very, very, very important. And Roche and Layton end up placing these tasty-looking chicken wings in front of Kevin in order to make him talk. And of course, Kevin is hungry. He starts eating. And this is where Layton and Roche end up realizing that, yep, the people in Big Alice don't have a lot of food. They're starving. And Layton asks Kevin about how many people are present in Big Alice, and Kevin doesn't answer, but he tells Layton enough for him to realize that yep, there are like 100 people in Big Alice for them to deal with. Then we cut to Melanie being taken to Wilford's office, and Alex is there, Wilford is there, and Wilford asks Melanie about her little science experiment, and that the science experiment didn't work, and that she's crazy, talking about how it's snowing and the world is healing itself. And this is also where Wilford is like, you know what, Melanie? You might think that in the previous episode you had us at a stalemate because you permanently locked both trains together. However, we have a tactic that we can use. We can slow down Big Alice, and then Snowpiercer and her systems and everything will freeze to death. And Melanie is like, wait, if you slow down the train, then you'll freeze. Then you'll freeze too. And Wilford and Alex are like, you know what? Our people are okay with living below temperature, so we'll handle it. But can Snowpiercer handle it? Everyone will go crazy, especially after the war they just fought. And Wilford is like, you know what, Melanie? I might end up exchanging you, but I need to meet with Leighton. Who's Leighton? I need to meet with him. I need to talk to him. I need to see this King Leighton by myself. And yeah, Melanie, of course, Melanie is going to be okay with being swapped with Kevin, and she knows that Wilford is coming for Leighton, and she has to warn Leighton about it. So Mr. Wilford ends up sending a communique to tell Leighton and everyone that they are willing to swap Melanie for Kevin. And Ruth comes in and she picks up the communique, and she's very, very happy to see an actual communication note from Mr. Wilford. She runs off. She ends up reciting the note to Leighton, Roche, and Ben. And of course, Leighton is willing to swap Kevin for Melanie. And they also have to be very, very careful. They are like, you know what, even if Melanie comes back, this isn't Wilford's only plan. Wilford is thinking of something. So we need to be ready. So it's time for the prisoner swap. And we have Leighton standing in Snowpiercer. Then there's the border. And then we have Wilford with Icy Bob. And Wilford ends up meeting Leighton for the first time, and he actually calls Leighton by the name King Leighton. And Leighton is like, no, Wilford, there are no kings here. This is a democracy. I'm just doing what the people will. And Wilford just laughs it off. So Melanie is swapped for Kevin, and as she's making her way towards Snowpiercer, Alex comes in, and Melanie is like, you know what, Alex, you can come with me right now. You can leave Big Alice. You can come stay with me. We'll interact. We'll talk. And Alex is like, no, my place is with Mr. Wilford. And she again takes out the test tube that Melanie collected the snow sample in, and she's like, you have to tell me what all of this is about. And again, Melanie doesn't say anything, and Alex ends up crushing the test tube in her foot. Under her foot, my bad. She crushes the test tube under her foot, and she walks off to Mr. Wilford. And then Melanie ends up warning Leighton that, you know what, Leighton, Wilford is going to come for you, so you need to be very, very, very careful. And Leighton asks Melanie about Alex, and Melanie is like, Alex hates me. She's cruel. She hates me. She's siding with Wilford. And Leighton is like, you know what, that's just how teenagers are. So Bess ends up going to the clinic, and this is where we find out that the Taily woman who was attacked was actually Lights. And yeah, people attacked her. She doesn't know who attacked her and why they attacked her. However, they did use a saw to cut her fingers off, and it's just bad. It's just very, very bad. And Lights is like, you know what? I'm going to go back to the Tail. The Tailies thought that we would be welcomed in first and second class and all around Snowpiercer, but no, there's a whole lot of prejudice coming, and I don't want any of that. So I'm going back to the Tail. And then we cut to Melanie. And she's talking to Harvey and Ben and I guess Leighton's there. No, Leighton's not there yet. So yeah, and this is where Ben looks at the injury that Melanie had, and she is like, you know what, Ben, remember the Headwoods? They're called the Headwoods, yeah, right? So it turns out that there are a married scientist couple, and they have, and Melanie is like, you know what, they ended up creating this goop. I had this frostbite, and it ended up healing my skin. So of course Ben is very intrigued by it. So I guess that goop is going to play a role further on. So it's time for Kevin to meet Wilford, and Wilford and Kevin talk, and you can just tell the way that this entire scene is framed. You can just tell that Wilford is going to do something to Kevin. And yeah, I just knew that Kevin was going to die. He was going to be tortured, because of course Wilford is going to ask Kevin about what he ended up sharing with Leighton and the rest. So he has this hot bath, prepared for Kevin, and I first was like, wait, is he going to drown Kevin? But no, it's different. So Kevin takes off his clothes, he goes in front of Wilford, which was very surprising to me. So he takes off his clothes in front of Wilford, and he sits in the bathtub, and he's looking at Wilford, and Wilford is like, Kevin, what did you tell Leighton and the rest about us? And at first Kevin tries to deflect, but he's like, you know what, I ended up I told them about how good you are and how strong we are. And Wilford is like, wait, did they feed you? And Kevin is like, yeah, they gave me chicken wings. And of course, Wilford is like, yup, you ended up showing them that we are hungry, and that's a vulnerability I didn't want them knowing about. So he asks Alex to go into the control room. She goes there, she closes the door behind herself, and she wears these headphones, and she's listening to music. And of course I was like, yep, Kevin is going to die. And Wilford ends up taking off his clothes as well, which was again very surprising. He goes and sits with Kevin and both of them are in the tub. And this is where Wilford is like, you know what, Kevin, you have played your role, you have done enough, and I need you to take your own life now. And Kevin is like, wait, but who will run hospitality? Wilford is like, you don't have to worry about anything. Just kill yourself. And he gives Kevin a razor, and he ends up killing himself, and the tub ends up filling with his blood. And Wilfred's dog Jupiter comes in, and she ends up licking the blood in the tub. It was very, very weird. It was just a very uncomfortable and yet powerful scene, and it shows Wilford and it shows Wilford's very cult-like power that he has on his people. It was very disturbing. Now, this is the scene that made me yell. I was so happy because in the previous season, when it was shown that Melanie ended up killing Josie, I was like, wait, I like Josie. Why did she end up dying? And also, I really think that the writers have been doing a very impressive job when it comes to giving every character these separate character arcs and how they're handling the narrative. But a fan that I'm not of is the entire freezing women trope that I don't like. And I didn't like Josie dying in order to cause more man pain to Leighton and their adoptive son. I didn't like that. But it turned Miles. Yeah, Miles. The son's name is Miles. Speaking of Miles, why hasn't he shown up? It's been 2 episodes. But yeah, I didn't like Josie dying and causing more man pain for Leighton and Miles. However, in season 2, it's revealed that no, Josie didn't die, she's still alive, and Zara finds out, and I was so happy because I like Josie as a character, and this also means that Melanie hasn't killed anyone. I was like, whoa, Melanie is a cold-blooded killer. She'll kill another person if she has to. So this was a very weird scene. At first, I was like, is Zara going to help Josie? But no, she ends up trying to kill Josie by putting this chemical inside her drip. And I was like, wait. The writers can't do this. They just showed us that Josie is alive, and now Zara is going to be the one to kill Josie. But no, Zara has second thoughts, and she ends up saving Josie's life. Which, okay, Zara, I still don't like you, but that was good. So Beth ends up going to meet with this pastor, and it's this religious temple, and they both talk about how everyone believes in different religions. However, Wilford coming back is a powerful religious narrative as well for certain people in the Snowpiercer, that how they thought that he was dead and now he's back alive, and that Wilford still has friends inside this train, and of course that worries Beth. And Beth has to figure out something, because as far as Beth is concerned, people who are loyal to Wilford, that's not a good thing to have in Snowpiercer. So we cut to Pike, and remember the drugs that Pike got in the previous episode. He ends up selling those drugs to the head of the sanitation department, and Pike is happy, and Pike is like, you know what, our supply is temporarily disturbed, but we'll get back to it. And then the head of the sanitation department ends up meeting Oz and LJ, and Oz is like, we need work, LJ and I can do work, I'm good with my fist, so I'll fight for you. And the head, I forget his name, but yeah, the head is like, wait, LJ, why are you here? And LJ is like, I have contacts. And everyone is like, yeah, we don't, no one, your contacts aren't valuable anymore. And LJ is like, I'm not talking about my contacts in Snowpiercer, I'm talking about my contacts in Big Alice, because when Wilford comes back, he knows me. It's best that you keep me on your side so that I can put in a good word for you when Wilford comes back. So that's happening for LJ. And I still don't know what the writers have planned for LJ and Oz. So Zara goes to meet Aubrey because she's conflicted. She knows that Josie is alive, but she hasn't told anyone. And she is like, Aubrey, what do you want? What should I do? She also doesn't tell Aubrey about Josie being alive. And Aubrey is like, you know what, Zara? Wilford is coming, and Wilford is going to come and attack Leighton. However, Leighton is our only hope. Leighton is our only chance of survival in the Snowpiercer. So I want you to protect Leighton. Whatever you do, you have to do everything that's asked of you to protect Leighton. Then we see Melanie and her team release this weird mechanical thing into the atmosphere. I guess that's for taking temperature readings. And this is where they see that, of course, if you keep on going higher, the temperature has started to decrease, and that means that Melanie and the rest might end up seeing Earth coming back to life in their lifetime. And of course, that's a very powerful, hopeful message, and everyone is happy. And then Melanie is like, you know what? We can't stop here. We need equipment to study all of this, and that equipment is present in Big Alice. So we need access to Big Alice. And Leighton is like, you know what? I also have to tell Snowpiercer and the people in Big Alice about the hope that we just got our hands on, and this entire narrative that we'll be alive and humanity will be okay. That's very, very important, and this will also take away from people's cult-like thinking when it comes to Wilfred, because a whole lot of people think that Wilford is their only savior and the Earth is never, ever, ever going to be normal again. So Leighton and Melanie is like, you know what, we can use all of this info to get some people to our side. And then we see Ruth being sent to deliver a message to Wilfred, and on her way she ends up meeting LJ and Oz. And LJ is like, wait, is that a message for Mr. Wilfred? And Ruth is like, yep, you'll end up seeing him sooner than you think. So Wilford is reading the message, and Wilford is like, okay, so Melanie and Leighton are proposing a summit with scientists. She has this proposal that she wants to talk about, and Alex is interested as well, but Wilford has other plans. Wilford is like, you know what, we'll go to the summit, but we are going there so that we can kill Leighton. So we have a scene where Ruth is talking to her team, and Ruth is like, hospitality is the most important thing on Snowpiercer, and we need to be our best when Mr. Wilford comes back. And I'm like, oh, Ruth, Mr. Wilford is going to throw you away if need be. So Beth ends up talking to Leighton about, and she tells Leighton that it was Lights who ended up being attacked, and Leighton is like, wait, who do you think it is? And Beth is like, of course there is some prejudice in Snowpiercers towards the Tailies, but I don't think that these are the same people. I think there's someone in Snowpiercer who's working with Wilfred, and that person is trying to cause a commotion, and we can't let that happen. To Alice placing this razor inside her mouth because she's been tasked to kill Leighton, and Wilford comes in to talk to her, and Alice is like, wait, so it's not about Leighton, right? You want me to kill Leighton in order to punish Melanie? And Wilford is like, yep, Melanie stole my train, and now it's only fitting that her own daughter ends up taking the train away from her. And it's very poetic, and you have to do this, Alex. I see Joe and Sykes will give you support. So we get to see Zara, and she's back meeting Josie. And she's gone to meet Josie, and Zara is like, you know what, Josie, I know that you're very strong. I know that a whole lot of other people look to you to understand what to do, and you're basically a leader, but I've got a good thing happening with Leighton, and I don't want you to ruin it. So Wilford and the rest come in. He comes in with Sykes and Icy Bob and Alex, and they go through the weapon search. And of course, Alex has a razor inside her mouth, so of course no one decides to check in there for some reason. And this scene, I really think that I would love it if it's Bess who ends up taking down Icy Bob. I think it needs to happen. So on his way to the summit, Wilford ends up meeting LJ, and he recognizes LJ, and LJ is like, yeah, my parents are dead, and Mr. Wilford, you still have friends there. And of course, Wilford is very happy to hear that. And as Wilford and when Wilford is at the summit, we get this weird scene showing Miss Audrey, and she's looking at Wilford, and she walks away. I think that Miss Aubrey is going to try and get closer to Wilford in order to assassinate him. I'm not really sure. So the summit starts, and this is where Leighton, Melanie, and everyone and Wilford, they all talk about what Melanie is up to, and Leighton announces to the entire group that they have hope. The Earth is healing itself, and the Earth will be normal soon. And Wilford is like, wait, what's to say that Melanie isn't lying? She pretended to be me for 7 years. You must be lying. So Wilford's own scientists, the Headwards, they end up saying that, you know what, Melanie's theory makes sense to us, Mr. Wilford, so I guess the Earth is healing. And this is where Melanie is like, Wilford, I have to do this. What we need to do now is that we need to restart the research center on the Rocky Mountains, and we need to collect data. They have to find a spot on Earth that has low temperatures, where the temperature is low enough for them to, for humanity to start living again. And Wilford is like, you know what, Melanie, you make sense, but you're going to be the one who ends up doing all of this research, and you're going to be the one who will need to stay in the research center for a month. And Melanie is, and he's like, that these are my terms. What are your terms, Melanie? And Melanie is like, you know what? I accept your terms. However, as far as I'm concerned, there won't be any fighting between Snowpiercer and Big Alice. So we have a deal. Wilford is like, we have a deal, and he tells Alex to stop and not kill Leighton, and Alex ends up cutting herself on the razor. There's blood dripping in her from her hand, and she also isn't interested, and she also doesn't like the fact that her mother is going to leave the train and go and live by herself in a research station for a month. So before Wilford leaves, he ends up putting up his three-finger sign, and this triggers something in Beth. She goes to meet with Lights, and Leighton is like, Melanie, are you sure you want to do this? And Melanie is like, yep, it has to be me. I have to go and handle this research myself. And Leighton, I need you to keep Snowpiercer running, and after a month, come and take me back. So I guess Melanie is leaving. And talking about the three-finger sign, it turns out that the people who attacked Lights, they ended up cutting 2 of her fingers, so that she ends up showing Wilford's three-finger sign, and that was just bad. And as Wilford is making his way back to Big Alice, we can see other people throwing up the same sign. So yeah, Wilford, there's a whole lot of support for Wilford, which Leighton is going to have to handle a whole lot of trouble. So Zara comes in and she tells Leighton about Josie being alive, and of course Leighton runs off to meet Josie, and Josie wakes up, and you know what, this is going to be very interesting, because as far as Josie is concerned, Melanie is the enemy. Melanie is the one who attacked her. She has no idea that Big Alice has attached itself to Snowpiercer and that Wilford is back. So it will be very interesting to see how she copes with all of this, and also talking about the goop that the Headwards created. I guess that goop is going to be used to heal Josie. Let's see. However, her hand won't be healed, so let's see if they're able to augment her with something. So we get to see Alex and Melanie, and Alex is making her way back to Big Alice, and she stops and talks to her mom, and she's like, don't you say that you're doing this for me. And Melanie's like, no, I'm not. I'm doing this for everyone. This is hope. This is something that I have to do. And before Alex leaves, remember the hand that she cut? She uses that blood, and she leaves this bloody handprint on the side of the wall, and then she goes back to Big Alice. And this is where the episode ends with this disclaimer, and it's like, if you are someone you know struggling with feelings of depression or suicide, please seek help by contacting the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So yeah, this is where the episode ended. I am looking forward to episode number 3. I will be doing a written review of this for the Geekery. The link to the review will be down in the comment section below. I really enjoyed this episode. I wasn't expecting Josie to come back, but she's back, and I'm happy. So yeah, let me know what you thought of the episode down in the comment section below. And until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed. See you guys later.